You know what keeps me up at night as a business owner? Falling behind, not just on trends, but on the tools and systems that are actually moving the needle right now. And here's a stat that really hit me. Every day your business is late to AI, you fall 2 days behind. 2 days every single day. The competition is only moving faster. So sitting on the sidelines and waiting to figure it out, that's just not an option anymore. Fortunately, there is NetSuite next. Here's the thing. You probably already know about NetSuite, the AI-powered business management suite, trusted by over 43,000 customers that securely connects all of your data, financials, inventory, commerce, HR, and CRM, all in one single source of truth. But NetSuite Next, this is the next huge step and leap in how business gets done, because now AI is built into absolutely everything that you do. It automatically surfaces custom insights throughout your day, so you always know what's happening in your business. AI agents work right alongside you to solve problems and handle routine work. And anytime you have a question about anything, you just ask, like having a conversation with the smartest colleague you've ever had. And here's what I really love. NetSuite is customized for a wide range of industries, so it actually supports the way your specific business works. This isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. If I needed a business management suite, this is exactly what I'd use. Whether your company earns millions or even hundreds of millions, it's time for NetSuite Next, where your business meets AI. For the very first time, you can try NetSuite Next for free. If your revenues are at least in the seven figures, go to netsuite.ai/SPI. Built for every industry, ready for every boardroom, netsuite.ai/SPI. Your business is growing. That's awesome. But are you stuck doing all the jobs because no one else gets it? Don't be a bottleneck at this crucial time. Indeed is all you need to find someone with the right skills. Stop struggling to get your listing noticed on other sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post stands out right away. It really works. Sponsored jobs are 90% more likely to report a hire. So join the over 1 million companies already using Indeed. That's where I'd go if I were looking for anyone from podcast editors to community experts. Background matters, and Indeed allows me to get super specific about it. I'd want someone who understands our brand and has experience with the right software and services. The thing about Indeed sponsored jobs is that I'd get people who actually fit my description. No more digging through resumes. Plus, you only pay for results. No monthly subscriptions, just a boost when you need to hire fast. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, and more results now with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/SmartPassive. Just go to Indeed.com/SmartPassive right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/SmartPassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed.
I remember when I first hired a business coach, I said, roast my business. And she was like, the only thing I would say is right now you're thinking more like a freelancer and I want you to think more like a CEO. And I love that advice. And at the same time, the most magical things that have happened to me in my business happened because I was not thinking like a CEO. Would a CEO be like, yo, I'm going to write this silly rap song about Canva and I'm going to post it on Instagram? Probably not. So I feel like that's a little bit where the magic is. And if we left a little bit more room for play, who knows what could come from that? A lot of what I do sometimes feels rooted in fear because it's like, oh, I got to make sure that the bills are getting paid. And the way that fear manifests for me is in overthinking, the fear of doing something that people won't understand your intentions behind it. And that was one of the things that happened with the song that went viral. There was so much that people had to say about it. The way that I counteract that is speed, simply speed, because fear doesn't really have a chance to catch up. I'm outpacing whatever fear might keep me from doing the thing.
All right, we got a fun one today because we have a very special guest with us who has gone bonkers on social media. In fact, his theme song has been stuck in my head for a very long time. It's not should I open it or should I keep it sealed? I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about Roger Coles. If you don't know who Roger Coles is, you will in just a moment, so stick around for that. But I also want to introduce, if you didn't know, we have a new community director at SPI, and she's here with me today. We got Liz Wilcox in the house. What's up, Liz?
What up? That's the sound effect.
You've been surviving lately?
I've been surviving lately, bro.
Surviving?
Surviving, yeah.
Bro,
the vibe has spoken, and Roger Coles is in town, y'all. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and we have Roger. I mean, Liz, maybe you can introduce Roger because I know you've seen his work and know him pretty well. So set him up.
Yeah, so Roger is the Canva guy. I don't know how else to say it. He is like THE, all caps, the Canva guy. He literally wrote a song on Canva. It got picked up. It's on Spotify, y'all. Stream it. So excited to hear everything he has to say today. He's just one of the most genuine guys I've ever met on the internet. So well spoken, looks great in red, looks great in glasses. And I just can't wait for today. I'm super stoked.
Let's welcome Roger. What's up, Roger?
Yo, thank you.
How would you describe yourself? I know that we all call you the Canva guy, but how would you describe yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the Canva rapper is probably the thing that most people call me. But yeah, at the core of who I am, I'm an edutainer. So whatever it is that we're doing, I want to teach it and I want to have fun while we're doing it.
And you're teaching Canva to the masses, and you've taught millions of people how to do certain things, myself included. So thank you, by the way. And you do it in a very interesting way. In fact, I got to know Roger more recently from his involvement in one of our challenges, the 30-day video challenge. Tell me about where you were at with that, Roger. What did you do, and how did that work out for you?
Yeah. So the funny thing about the challenge is that I think you started promoting it sometime in December, maybe it was November or something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, it's going to happen in January. I'm down for this challenge. When I started my Instagram, I started with a Reels challenge. And so like it is at my very core. And I was like, I'm going to do it. And then I was talking with my business coach and we had all these goals aligned, for the future and the 3 to 5 year arc and everything. And I was like, you know what? Does doing a challenge like this align with those goals? And then I started second guessing it. And then I was like, you know what? I even filmed the first video and I had already written the song and everything. And then I just was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I have time to do it right now. And then a buddy of mine, the day of the challenge, said, hey, Rod, you know that Pat Flynn challenge you were talking about doing? I'm going to do it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll do it too then. And so I posted that video that I literally was thinking, this video is trash. I don't even think I'll ever post it. It'll probably just stay on my phone forever. But I posted it that first day. And then my wife knows this about me, that I am like 0 or 100. There's no in between. So if I do a challenge, it's like, yo, we are doing this challenge. And so she just kind of took a deep breath and was like, okay, for the next 30 days, this is going to be what Roger does. And I'm so glad I did it. And the funny thing is my buddy who said, I'm going to do the challenge, posted one time and then didn't post at all for the rest of the challenge. But he was the inspiration that got me.
Oh, he didn't keep going?
He didn't keep going. No.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. I have to interrupt Roger though, because he said, oh, this video is trash. If y'all go to his account, I'm sure the link will be in the description. Nothing that Roger does online is trash. His stuff, I literally wrote down in my notes, y'all, like, your stuff is so pristine. His stuff always looks so good. So I'm sure it was awesome.
I appreciate that. I know that we're our own worst critics, right?
Yes, for sure. A lot of people said that and didn't do the challenge. And then they did the second challenge that came about, which is good, largely because they got inspired by people like you. First of all, your wife and my wife would get along very well because you and I are the same in that way. And your song, that I didn't know was made just for this challenge, right? Things you can do in Canva. That was for the challenge?
That was just for the challenge. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's epic. I didn't know that either. That's super dope.
Oh, I be writing songs, y'all. Like I write songs about things that I love. Like I've written songs about Doritos and Krispy Kreme and like so many ridiculous things. And when you look at how many songs I've written for Canva versus the amount of songs I've written for my wife, it is shameful.
Oh, wow. You heard it here first, folks. We didn't even ask that question.
That's great. So you kept up with the challenge. How did it go for you? I mean, did it pop off on day one, or when, like, what were some of the patterns that you were reading after going every day for 30 days?
Yeah. So initially there was like a decent response, and it probably took a few days into the challenge for me to kind of get my bearings and figure out a rhythm that worked for me. And this is one of the things that I talked about in the case study that I did, that like day 5, I changed the music. So when I first started the series, it was very, like I started with the jingle, but then you'd hear lo-fi, like kind of chill music. And I was like, that's not really the vibe that I want for this series because I am a little bit more playful. So on day 5, I changed the soundtrack that you'd hear during the actual tutorial portion of the video to a very whimsical, like went to epidemic sound. It was like, doo, 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 doo. And I was like, that vibe fits so much better. I don't know if I saw a rise in engagement because of that, but I did start to notice that tiny things like the audio hooks would make a difference. So I started playing more with like click sounds when I would click on a certain part of the screen, or if the screen would go from pan from one side to the next, I'd add in like a whoosh type of thing. And then I started playing with risers, so like it built that little bit of tension. So it was like things you could do in Canva, ding, and then it would like start a video. So those are the little things that I started to see and play with just from like the back end. But then I started to see, there are certain patterns that I'm starting to see some traction on. And the first video that went viral was like, I think 4 million or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay. People that I assume have been in Canva for a long time, there's a lot that they still don't know. And when you're fully immersed in something, you kind of forget what it's like to be new to something. So I was actually shocked to see that keyboard shortcuts was one of the videos that popped. And I was like, keyboard, it's just like hit C for circle, L for line. But people were like, oh my goodness, you just saved my life. Like you saved me.
I literally just learned. Today I learned TIL, y'all. Wow, I'm going to have to go check that video out.
It's called the curse of knowledge, right? Chip and Dan Heath wrote about this. And it's this idea that when you know something, you forget what it's like not to know it. And for all of us who are in this space, who are trying to help and educate and serve our audiences, it's very important to kind of go back to the basics. And it's like, okay, well, how helpful can that be? I think there is a edutainment part of this that is now required. It's you can't just say the thing because anybody can look it up, but you have to get in front of them with the hook and whether it's a jingle or something visual that shows up. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts on how you improved. You said the music, you said like, what other things were you noticing from the reaction that your community was giving you? What kinds of things were they saying, and were they helping you determine what to film next?
100%. That's the beauty of a series like this. Is one of the little tricks that I did throughout the series is when I would close each video, I would use a different type of Canva feature that I hadn't talked about yet as a teaser to see if people picked up on it. So for instance, at the very end of one of my videos, I used the outline effect. And people immediately in the comments were like, how did you do that thing at the very end of the video? And I was like, that's going to be another video. And yeah, so they're kind of, even though I had built out 45 days worth of ideas, it was really nice to get that feedback in real time, the questions that people actually had. So I had like a bank of ideas, but then I was willing to pivot when necessary.
That's really cool. That's one of the beauties of going daily. I mean, Liz, you and I have seen so many people in our community who've gone daily, who have learned. And some people, they learn on the first couple. For some, it's after 30 days. And many people have still continued. So I just want to take a moment to celebrate not just Roger here, but our amazing community. I mean, Liz, you have direct connection to many of them. And they're doing awesome things, aren't they?
Yeah, today somebody in the community posted, I just hit 20,000 YouTube subscribers. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do to celebrate? That's so awesome. And I asked him, hey, what was the big contributor to success? And he said, kind of like Roger, he had the bank of ideas, but he was willing to ask his audience, listen and pay attention to the comments and grow from there. And he said it took about 9 months to really catch a groove. And then it just took another 9 months to hit the 20,000 or whatever. But Roger, I love that you said this word play. I'm a playful guy. I want to play with the content, things like that. So a lot of our listeners are beginners. They get like super nervous, nail biting. Oh my gosh, 30 days. That seems overwhelming. And I mentioned your content is so pristine. Has it always been that way? What has the content creation process been like for you over the years?
Oh, yeah. Everything that I did early on, like when I started my Instagram, I started with a 30-day Reels challenge because Reels was brand new in 2020, I think. And so I was like, yeah, let's all kind of learn this new feature together. And there were days that I would spend hours to get just like a little 30-second video. And I'm doing crazy transitions, and like insane edits and stuff. And they get like 10 likes. And 5 of those were my cousins and 1 was my mom. And so it was just like, oh man, that was the beauty of the series, was that there wasn't enough time to be a perfectionist because you have to do it so quickly and you're putting out so much. And there were times that I would batch the content and that was really helpful. But then there were other times that I'm just having to create so quickly that I don't have time to be like, oh, well, let me be super picky about this one transition or whatever. And for me, the challenge, one of the things that you talked about was like, what pivots did you make? I found that when I first started the series, I had no idea that there was going to be any kind of virality or any new followers or anything. And that honestly wasn't really my goal. My goal was that I wanted to be able to have a bank of videos that I could send to past clients and future prospects, because this is what I do now. Like I do a lot of Canva education. And so I was like, I want to be able to, at the end of these 30 days, to just send this to past clients and say like, hey, here are some things that I think might be helpful for your marketing team. And so as we started to go through the series, like maybe 10 days in, 15 days in, I started to see a couple of them really popping and going viral. And I found myself catering to the algorithm a little bit more, where I started to talk a little bit faster. The edits were a little bit quicker. And I had to course correct and go, no. These are supposed to be a little bit slower paced so that I can send them to a client who doesn't really know about this new feature and they can just digest that information. So yeah, the algorithm also kind of tried to play with me a little bit, and it was a constant course correction for like, wait a minute, what was the goal of this series to begin with? And let's stay true to that.
That's really insightful. So here's something I've learned after building websites for over 15 years. The gap between a great idea and a live production-ready website has always been way too wide. You've got the vision, your designer mocks it up, and then suddenly it turns into a pile of tickets, handoffs, and we'll get to it conversations. Meanwhile, your business is waiting. That's exactly the problem that Framer solves. And honestly, it's doing it in a way I've never seen before. Framer is the pro site builder for creators, teams, and businesses that want a professional site and care enough to get every detail right. It's a complete website platform, not just a builder, so your team can launch and keep improving your site all in one place. Here's what makes Framer different right now: AI agents and human work in tandem. Agents bring the speed and the scale, and your team brings the taste, judgment, and control. The agent works right on the same canvas where your real site is designed, managed, and published. It lands on the canvas, stays fully editable, and gets published when your team is ready. So you're not just getting a first draft or a vibe-coded starting point. You're getting production-ready website work faster than ever. And teams can collaborate in real time, iterate on the same page, and publish instantly. Agents help streamline collaboration, build custom code components, manage CMS content, optimize SEO settings, all shipped from one place. And for enterprise teams, Framer delivers premium hosting, enterprise-grade security, and 99.99% uptime. Companies like Perplexity and Miro trust Framer to run their .com, and now you can too. Learn how you can get more out of your site from a Framer specialist, or get started building for free today at framer.com/SPI for 30% off a Framer Pro annual plan. That's framer.com/SPI for 30% off. Framer.com/SPI. Rules and restrictions apply. So let me ask you something. What would you do with your time if you didn't have to do everything yourself? Because here's the reality. Scaling a business isn't about working harder or longer hours. It's about bringing in the right expertise at the right time. And the moment you realize you don't have to do it all yourself, that's when everything changes. I can definitely vouch for that. This is where Upwork comes in. Upwork is a one-stop platform to find, hire, and pay expert freelancers across web and software development, data analytics, marketing, business operations, and more. You get fast access to specialized talent across 125 plus categories, so you can fill skill gaps, launch projects faster, and scale support up or down without committing to full-time headcount. You can browse profiles, review past work, and get help scoping the role so you can hire with confidence and get started quickly. And with Upwork Business Plus, you get access to the top 1% of talent on Upwork with AI-powered shortlisting that matches you to the right freelancer in under 6 hours. No endless searching required. Upwork also handles contracts and payments all in one place, cutting down the operational hassle so you can spend more time focused on growing your business. Thousands of growing businesses already trust Upwork for everything from one-off projects to ongoing support, and it's completely free to sign up. Posting a job is easy. Just visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com to connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com. You could follow Roger on Instagram. That's where you can locate these videos and listen to the jingle at My Social Designer. Beautiful looking page. The videos are super fun. I'm curious though, and since we're talking about production, like what have you purposefully done to reduce your editing time? I think this is something that really kills a lot of people, and their momentum is just like, oh, it just takes forever to edit. You had mentioned it takes hours to edit. I remember when I did my Should I Open It or Should I Keep It Sealed series. I mean, it took 45 minutes to create this pack opening video, and then now it just takes me 12. I could just bang it out. So what are the things that you've done and put in place to make your life easier?
I'll speak specifically to the series because that actually helped me to define this framework a little bit easier, a little bit better. And I realized partially through the series that me doing face to camera became a real hindrance for me to open the video. And I know that there's a big push for like more face to camera. The funny thing is that when I look at my analytics in 2025, when everybody was saying 2026 is going to be the year of like face on camera, I was like, yo, well, how come the videos of my face ain't doing very well? Y'all just don't like my face? Okay. So I'm always willing to experiment, and I'm just looking at the data to see, what's going to make the most sense. But with the series specifically, I found that it was way faster for me to just make a quick animation in Canva. That was the opening for every single video, was things you can do in Canva, me just pointing to the screen. So it has that nice visual hook as well as the audio hook with the jingle. And then I ended every intro with that little chime of me telling you like what day it was. So like part 34, day 34, whatever. So that was the intro. And then the middle of the video was always a screen recording with a voiceover. And then the ending was always the same. The call to action was always the same of like, this is part of a series where I'm showing you how to make the most out of Canva. Follow along so you don't miss the next episode. So that became like a 3-part framework that was really easy for me to repeat on a regular basis. And it took all of the overthinking out of the process.
That's genius. I mean, that's the beauty of a framework. You had mentioned voiceovers. That's often a magical tool we can use to make the storytelling or the tutorials a little easier. So would you perform the tutorial essentially kind of quietly even, and then edit it the way you wanted to edit, and then kind of just like watch it and talk?
Yes. Yeah. So there was like a little bit of a storyboard in my mind of what I knew I wanted to capture on screen. So I would just open up ScreenFlow. That's what I use. Record the parts of the video that I knew that I needed. And then I would put them all I'd start editing it. And then it's kind of backwards, but then I would write the script. And then I would just read the script as the voiceover. So you probably should start with the script, but in this framework, it seemed to make more sense to get all the cuts in place and then write the script so that I could just read right over top of everything.
That makes sense to me. So I will say I am Instagram and Shorts inconsistent, but I recently did a sponsored reel. Shout out Applebee's and the gang.
Yeah,
and
finally.
they wanted a voiceover, and I'd never done a voiceover. So I'm talking to you at home. If you're like, oh, voiceover, that sounds so complicated. Can't I just talk to camera? Isn't that hot right now? And so that was me at home like, oh my gosh, they want a voiceover. I don't even know how to do that. So I used Instagram, and it made it super easy. And I was like, oh, wow, this is so easy. I could just film myself doing things and then talk over it. Why have I been, resisting this for so long? And like Roger, I did the filming. I kind of had mapped out what I wanted. It was a sponsored post, right? So they had kind of told me like, oh, make sure you put this and that. And then they were like, oh, but we want it voiceover. And so I was like, okay, well, and I was just watching my own video and talking. And like Roger said, it actually became really, really simple. So if you're listening and you're thinking, oh my gosh, voiceover, another thing to learn, it actually was really, really simple. I was super surprised and laughed at myself.
It does make it a lot easier. I mean, as much as you're right, Roger, face to camera is in, of course, we want to be more human, but it is also human to have a point of view, a POV view, right? Where it's like your eyes looking out at the thing that you're doing, the thing that you're playing with, or the yarn that you're crocheting, right? And then the VO, the voiceover, almost becomes like, oh, I'm now inside of this person's head and I'm hearing their thoughts and I'm kind of getting insight in that way. And that's also very human too. So I don't want you to think that you have to put your camera on face, but you still have to have personality. You still have to have not even charisma, which you definitely do have, but you just have to be you. And I think that's really important because we see your videos, Roger, and I will say there's a group of people listening to this who will go to your channel and almost be kind of like, well, I'm not that good. I'm not good enough, right? What would you say to that person? Because I know you also work with a lot of beginners, especially in the world of Canva, who are like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can never get to that level. What's your advice for somebody who's thinking that?
Yeah. So first of all, I started in 2020. It's 2026. So I've been doing this for 6 years. So if you're just getting started, like that's okay. Everybody starts somewhere. In fact, when I first started, I remember it was a long time before anyone heard my voice. So a lot of what I was doing back then, we were using trending audio and stuff. So I had no reason to speak on camera. So I would just be, back then everyone was just like doing the cheesy little pointing to the words on the screen kind of thing, or, it'd be a cool transition. And I remember like the first, I was like, oh man, people are probably gonna think my voice is weird. Like they've never heard my voice before. So that was a little bit of a barrier for me in starting out. And it just took doing it a little bit more. And now I'm super comfortable with being on camera. I'm super comfortable with doing voiceovers. And one of the things that I did in the series was that because I was removing my face from the intro of every video, I was like, well, I still want people to know the person behind these videos. So if you watch at the end of every single video, the call to action is almost always me designing in Canva using a photo of myself to show whatever that design is.
I've noticed that.
And that was my workaround for like, oh man, well, I still want people to be able to recognize. And then that happened because at Canva Create, I was teaching this session and I was co-hosting with Meta. And so the whole session was about reels that convert. And I started talking through the series and gave just like a couple of like stats on the case study side of things. And people at the end came up was like, I didn't even know that was you. I started following you because of the series. I didn't even know you were the guy behind that series. And so even with that, my face was still there, but there was still a little bit of disconnect. So I tried to kind of counteract that by just putting my face somewhere in the video.
Yeah, that's really, especially if you're building a personal brand, you want to be seen. That's a really smart workaround. You had mentioned you were at a Canva event, and Liz and I actually just filmed and are publishing inside of the SPI community a brand and sponsorship course. So Liz, I don't know if you have any thoughts or questions for Roger related to some of the content that we filmed for the SPI community.
Yeah, I would love to know just how you came about working with Canva, right? Because there's a million and one kind of Canva ambassadors out there, people that are trying to get into Canva, trying to get people's attention, whether it's Canva or anything else. So what was really that story of, oh, I've got their attention now?
Yeah. Oh man, the origin story. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Yeah. So not a lot of people know this about me, but I didn't go to school for design or anything. I was a pastor for 15 years. I graduated with a degree in religion, specialization in biblical studies.
Wow.
I started in my home church serving as a youth pastor, started as an intern, then they hired me on. And the reason I got into design was because the youth pastor at the time was like, hey, we need registration forms. And he showed me how to use Photoshop. And then back then it was like MySpace was a thing. It was like, we need a MySpace page for the youth group. So I started learning a little bit of CSS, HTML. That kind of led me into the design path. And, when you're a youth pastor, you also make really stupid videos. So I learned how to edit videos and things like that. And then a buddy of mine said, hey, would you be willing to make me some social media graphics? And this was like back when it was like cool. No one was really doing it, like these typographic quotes for social media. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, I could do that. Which then led to me doing verse of the day images for a Bible app called YouVersion. And I did that for a few years. During that time, people started hiring me to do design work. And I was working with podcasters and publishing companies. And podcasters would be like, yo, I just need to change like the title of this episode. And I'd be like, I don't even know how to charge you for this. We already did it. They came back maybe a month later. I'm like, it's going to take me 5 minutes in Photoshop. Do I charge for the hour? Do I charge for 5 minutes? So I started to dabble in Canva and make some templates that then they could just take and own those. And then every new guest that they have, they could tweak out. They could swap out the photo, the title, all that stuff. And so I was like, okay, podcasters, there's a thing here with Canva templates. So I released a pack on Creative Market, which is a digital marketplace. And they went crazy. This was in 2020. And then, everybody's like, now's the time to start that business. Now's the time to start that podcast. And so I was like, oh, we're making mad money off these podcast templates right now. But I also released a pack called Notification Templates. Back then, it was like the reminder posts were real big, not as much now. But Canva came across those and said, hey, we are starting a program called the Canva Creator Program, where we're looking for designers who will submit their designs to the Canva library. And when users use your design, you get a royalty. And I was like, oh, okay. Heck yeah, let's go. I'm in. And within a few months of doing that, I really dove into learning Canva, because when you're creating these designs for Canva, you really have to understand usability. You have to understand what they're looking for, what makes it easy for a Canva user to open up that template and be able to customize it without a huge headache. And so I was staying up till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. watching videos because they're based in Sydney, Australia. And so I was like, but I need to be live in these webinars so I can ask questions in real time. And so that's what I started doing. And I was like, I started using it more for my clients. And I was like, you know what? I love Canva. I'm going to write a love song about Canva. Because designers were like hating on me. I was like, I've been designing for a long time, but they were all coming at me like real designers don't use Canva. And so I wrote a song that was like kind of pushing back on that called Canva Love Song. And Melanie Perkins, the founder of Canva, came across that video because her mom sent it to her. And
wow.
And she was like, I love this video so much. So she commented on it. Then I followed that song up with a song called Canva Paradise, which was a parody of Gangsta's Paradise. Totally ridiculous. Which then led to an invitation for me to come to Sydney, Australia and close out their first Canva Create event that was happening there to kind of close out the show. And then, so since then, I've been in the Canva universe in some way. I performed at 2 of the LA events the last 2 years. And one of those went totally viral. You don't look it up. I mean, Pat, you probably know. Yeah, it went totally viral. Yeah, it was wild. It was a wild experience, but yeah, so that kind of like, I guess, put me on their radar. And the funny thing is, like, it's not because of design. Design was my thing that I was doing, but it was something unrelated to design. It was like this other thing. And that's my encouragement for other people is like, there's a lot of people maybe in your industry, maybe there's high competition, but there is something unique about you and your approach and what you bring to that industry that no one else has. And so you just have to lean into that thing.
I love that so much, Roger. And yes, Roger has a lot of personality. He's not afraid to show it on top of his design skills. But I want to go back to something you said at the beginning that just, I can't get it out of my head of, my friend inspired me to do the 30 days challenge, but my friend only posted one time.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of us out there that are, like, oh, guilty, raise your hand if you've ever signed up for something and didn't finish. But what do you think, the way that your personality kind of distinguishes you against other Canva creators, what do you think is part of your personality or that drive that keeps you going that says, yep, if I sign up for this, I'm going to finish it? Because I know the SPI community, we've got a lot of challenges lined up and we can't wait to have more success stories like this. So what is that motivation to keep going?
I think a lot of it is rooted in my love for experimentation and my love for play and trying new things. But I think that I'm trying to think about like what the differentiator is. And it's just a passion for what you do and leaning into whatever that is. I want everything that I do to be fun. And I remember when I first hired a business coach, one of the things that she said to me was, I said, roast my business. Like, I want the hardest truths that you can give me. And she was like, we're on a good trajectory. The only thing I would say is right now you're thinking more like a freelancer and I want you to think more like a CEO. And I love that advice. And at the same time, the most magical things that have happened to me in my business happened because I was not thinking like a CEO. Like that first song that changed everything for me. Would a CEO be like, yo, I'm going to write this silly rap song about Canva and use a bunch of Instagram filters and it's going to take my whole day and I'm going to post it on Instagram? Probably not. So I feel like that's a little bit where the magic is like, there's so much that can come from just a little bit of curiosity and a little bit of play. And if we left a little bit more room in our work schedule for play, like who knows what could come from that. And yeah, so I feel like if you're someone who's listening to this, everybody kind of has their own style, but I found that I come alive when there's a little bit of mystery to what's going to happen next.
I mean, I play with Pokemon cards, so I'm doing a lot of playing. This is amazing, Roger. Thank you. As we finish up, I have a question that kind of piggybacks off of Liz's setup there, which is great. What is your relationship with fear? Fear is what is stopping most people. That's why they do it once and never come back. And although it wasn't perfect for you when you started in your origin story or even in this challenge, you kept going anyway.
Yeah.
And what is your relationship with failure?
Oh, man. I feel like a lot of what I do sometimes feels like rooted in fear. And that's not a healthy thing, but let me explain. Like I have a family, right? So like everything that I do, I'm doing for my family. So sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of fear that kicks me into gear because it's like, oh, I got to make sure that the bills are getting paid, right? So I'll push a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that it was something that wasn't as dark that was motivating me. I wouldn't say that's like my main motivator, but I guess the main motivator is my family and doing whatever I can to motivate them. But I have learned to manage that. And part of the way that fear manifests for me is in overthinking, the fear of like shipping something that isn't quite ready, or the fear of doing something that people won't fully understand your intentions behind it. And that was one of the things that happened with like, the song that went viral. There was so much that people had to say about it, but they didn't realize that Canva is campy and cheeky and silly. And so they were making these comparisons to the Microsoft guys, like Bill Gates, like, yo, my name is Bill and I'm here to say, right? Like that kind of thing. But it was like, we know we're rapping about enterprise. Like we know that, like, I'm literally rapping about single sign-ons and compliancy. Like we all get the joke, but not everybody get the joke. The way that I try to counteract that is speed, simply speed, because the more that I have time to sit with an idea, the less likely I am to execute on that idea because I overthink it and I talk myself out of doing it. So I've tried to minimize the time between the idea and the execution of the idea. And then fear doesn't really have a chance to catch up. I'm outpacing whatever fear might keep me from doing the thing, if that makes sense.
Love that answer. I love it. Liz, any questions for Roger before we let him go?
No questions, but I love one of the things that I admire about both Roger and Pat is that bias for action. And that's something we're trying to build inside the community as well. So I'm just super stoked. Thank you so much, Roger. Great answers all around.
Thank you.
Yes, Roger. And one more time, where can people go to follow your work?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, mysocialdesigner.com, head to my Instagram @mysocialdesigner. And just for the listeners of this podcast, I set up a coupon code for the Canva course that I have.
Let's go.
If you DM me on Instagram, PatPod26, you'll get 10% off of the course if you decide to purchase it.
PatPod26 at My Social Designer on Instagram for probably what is the best course on Canva for beginners to get started. And I use Canva all the time, and I'm learning from you. And just want to thank you on behalf of everybody who has struggled with design, because we need to move faster and we want to get through that so we can get to the next thing. So thank you for helping us move a little bit more quickly and hastily on our work. And yeah, looking forward to catching up with you again. Roger, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Bye, friends.
Hey, real quick, I want to tell you about something I put together that I think you are going to love. If you've ever thought about starting an online store, but you keep putting it off because it feels overwhelming or you just don't know where to start, I built this for you. It's called the 5-Day Shopify Challenge, and it's completely free. In just 5 days, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to go from zero to a live functioning online store. We're talking building your storefront, adding your products, setting up payments, creating your marketing plan, and actually launching all in 1 week. No experience required, no big budget needed, just you, your idea, and 5 days of showing up. Here's what I love about this challenge. At the end of it, you won't just have a plan, you'll have an actual store, live, real, ready to sell. And look, your store doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to exist, because you can't improve something that was never built, right? So if you're ready to stop thinking about it and actually do it, join me. Go to smartpassiveincome.com/launch-your-store to sign up. That's smartpassiveincome.com/launch-your-store. Let's build something together. I'll see you on day one. Hey, before you head out, Liz and I want to tell you about something we are both really excited about.
Okay, so you just listened to an entire episode about building your business, and now you're probably thinking, okay, but where do I actually start? Am I right?
Yeah, that's exactly the problem that the Superfan system solves. It's a complete framework built right into the SPI community, and it takes you through every level of building a loyal audience, from getting clear on who you're serving all the way to creating genuine superfans who show up for everything that you can do.
And I can tell you from personal experience, this stuff works. I built my entire business on real relationships and real connections. No ads, no gimmicks, just showing up for my people at every level. That's what the Superfan system teaches you to do.
It meets you exactly where you are, whether you're just starting out or you've been building a business for years and you feel like something's missing. Well, there's a level for you in here and a clear path forward.
Courses, community, live support, all of Pat's courses over the years, it's all inside. Honestly, though, for me, the community alone is worth it because these are my people and these are your people too.
Yeah, so come on in. And if you're ready to stop guessing and start building something real,
head to superfans.smartpassiveincome.com.
we're both super excited to see you inside.